895 AD, in the vast expanse of the North Atlantic, Prince Amleth stood witness to the triumphant return of his father, King Arvandil War-Raven, and his men. After a series of victorious conquests, the king was welcomed home by his son and his beloved wife, Queen Gudrun. In celebration of their success, a grand ceremony was held in their honor. During the festivities, a surprise guest arrived in the form of Arvandil's brother, Fjolnir. However, the joyous atmosphere was momentarily disrupted when the jester, Hymir, made an inappropriate joke about Queen Gudrun. Fjolnir, disapproving of the jest, expressed his discontent. Nevertheless, King Arvandil dismissed it as a harmless jest, refusing to let it dampen the spirits of the occasion. Due to the injuries sustained in battle, King Arvandil had made the decision to pass on his legacy to his son Amleth. Guiding his son towards Hymir, the king revealed a sacred tradition that had been passed down through generations. He explained that this was the very place where his own father had taken him, and his father before him. In this solemn ritual, they both consumed a special concoction, symbolizing the transfer of power and responsibility. In this poignant moment, Arvandil extracted a promise from Amleth. He made his son swear that if the day ever came when he would be slain, Amleth would fulfill his vow to avenge his father's death. Amleth, understanding the weight of his father's request, solemnly agreed to carry out this duty. As a token of this pact, Hymir collected a single teardrop from Amleth, signifying that it would be the last tear he would shed until the day he would need it again. The next day, Amleth is outside in the wooden house with his father Arvandil. Unfortunately, Amleth witnesses his father being struck by an arrow. As they survey the scene, they notice several men riding in on horses and shooting arrows at Arvandil. Despite Arvandil's instructions for Amleth to run and hide, he tries to defend himself against the attackers. However, the men overpower him, forcing him to his knees and stabbing him with their swords. Fjolnir, leading the group, aims to overthrow his brother. Arvandil warns Fjolnir that although he may have killed him that day, his rule over the kingdom will be short-lived. Fjolnir beheads Arvandil and commands his men to locate and eliminate Amleth, Arvandil's son. The boy manages to escape and hide, narrowly avoiding capture by Fjolnir's soldier Finir. Amleth retaliates by cutting off Finir's nose before fleeing. Returning to his village, Amleth discovers Fjolnir's men looting and killing the villagers, with Fjolnir forcibly taking Gudrun, the king's brother's wife, as she resists. Amleth rushes to the sea, boards a boat, and sails away, vowing to himself, "I will avenge you, father. I will save you, mother. I will kill you, Fjolnir." Years later, Amleth becomes a member of a Viking group and undergoes a transformation into a berserker through their own ritual. Subsequently, the group launches an attack on a village where Amleth mercilessly kills the soldiers, while the rest of his comrades pursue the women and children. The surviving villagers are then taken captive as slaves. During the night, Amleth stumbles upon a dim and desolate temple. Within its confines, he encounters a vision of a blind seeress, who presents him with the last tear he shed as a reminder of the vow he made in his childhood. She informs him that he now has another opportunity to avenge his father, rescue his mother, and eliminate his uncle. The following day, Amleth confides in his fellow berserker, Eiríkur, who reveals that Fjolnir had been ousted from his kingdom by King Harald of Norway, compelling Fjolnir and his people to relocate to Iceland. Amleth interprets the sighting of a raven as a sign from his father, urging him to carry out his mission of vengeance. In a bold move, Amleth marks himself as a slave and swims towards a slave boat occupied by Rus people. It is there that he encounters a young Slavic woman named Olga, who claims to possess the ability to manipulate the minds of men. As he rests beside her, Amleth experiences visions of Arvandil, Gudrun, Hymir, a distinctive sword, and Olga herself. During a violent storm, the boat tragically capsized, resulting in the loss of some slaves' lives. The The survivors managed to swim to land, where they were taken in by Fjolnir's men and brought to his farm. It was at this farm that Fjolnir had taken Gudrun as his wife and had a son named Gunnar with her, in addition to his eldest son, Thorir. Although Fjolnir did not recognize Amleth, he took notice of his impressive size and strength. Furthermore, Fjolnir developed a particular interest in Olga. Under the cover of night, Amleth stealthily left his tent with the intention of confronting Fjolnir. Along the way, he encountered an animal and followed it into another tent, where he came face to face with a he-witch. In the he-witch's possession was the severed head of Hymir, whom Fjolnir had brutally murdered by removing his tongue, eyes, and ears. Through the he-witch's powers, Amleth was able to communicate with Hymir, who revealed to him the existence of the powerful sword, Draugr. This sword would serve as Amleth's instrument of revenge. Amleth eventually discovered the location of Draugr, resting alongside the remains of a former king. As he attempted to claim the sword, the corpse seemingly came to life and engaged Amleth in a fierce duel. The battle concluded with Amleth delivering a fatal blow to the skeleton, decapitating it, and freeing the sword from its bony grasp. Upon returning to the village, Amleth found himself on the verge of using the sword against several men, but decided to exercise restraint for the time being. He then witnessed Fjolnir's inappropriate advances towards Olga, only to see her repel him by smearing her menstrual blood on him. Later on, the slaves were compelled to participate in a brutal game called Knattleikur, which involved beating and potentially killing opponents to emerge victorious. Gunnar, eager to join in, rushed onto the field but was forcefully knocked down by the opposing team's captain, Thorfinnr. The impact was so severe that Gunnar lost consciousness. In response, Amleth launched a relentless attack on Thorfinnr, repeatedly headbutting him until his skull caved in. Fjolnir and Thorir expressed their gratitude to Amleth once Gunnar regained consciousness, and as the slaves later assemble for a gathering in the forest where they engage in sexual activities with each other, and where Amleth consummates his bond with Olga. Following their intimate moment, they pledge to overthrow Fjolnir. In the ensuing nights, Amleth teams up with Draugr and eliminates some of Fjolnir's followers, including Thorir's companions. Their lifeless bodies are displayed outside for Thorir to discover, leading him to mourn the loss of his friends and swear to seek vengeance. On the same night, Amleth interrupts a sacrificial ceremony involving a slave woman by killing 2 individuals. Their mutilated bodies are left for Fjolnir and his men to stumble upon. Meanwhile, Olga assists Amleth by administering hallucinogenic mushrooms to some of Fjolnir's men, causing them to go mad and commit suicide. Additionally, Amleth instigates Fjolnir's dog to attack him by provoking wolves to howl, resulting in Fjolnir killing his own pet. Subsequently, Amleth visits Gudrun's chamber and reveals his true identity to her. Despite her shock at seeing him, she does not express relief at her son's survival. Gudrun discloses that she willingly loved Fjolnir and agreed to marry him, not being held captive by him. She confesses that she had requested Fjolnir to kill Aurvandil, who had enslaved and raped her, leading to Amleth's conception. Gudrun had also asked Fjolnir to eliminate Amleth. In an attempt to seduce Amleth, she is rebuffed, prompting him to kill Thorir in his sleep and extract his heart in a fit of rage. Witnessing his son's demise, Fjolnir accuses the slaves of Thorir's murder and begins to execute some of them. However, when he reaches Olga, Amleth intervenes by offering a bag that supposedly contains Thorir's heart in exchange for Olga's life. Amidst a scuffle with Fjolnir's men, Amleth becomes outnumbered. Fjolnir seizes the bag, only to discover that it contains the heart of the dog Amleth had slain. Amleth is captured and subjected to a brutal beating in order to force him to reveal the whereabouts of Thorir's heart. However, when Fjolnir and his men are momentarily distracted, a group of ravens, seemingly sent by Odin, come to Amleth's aid and set him free. He escapes on a boat with Olga, but when he kisses the wound inflicted by Fjolnir, he has a vision of twins who are destined to be their children. Realizing that their safety is at stake as long as Fjolnir is alive, Amleth swims back to the farm to complete his mission. Olga weeps for Amleth but offers a prayer to guide him. Upon his return, Amleth slaughters Fjolnir's men and liberates the remaining slaves. He is then attacked by Gudrun, who repeatedly stabs him until he impales her through the heart. Gunnar also attacks Amleth, stabbing him multiple times, but Amleth manages to kill him with a slash to the chest. Fjolnir discovers the bodies of his wife and child and challenges Amleth to a duel at the gates of hell. Amleth journeys to the volcano Hekla, where he finds the lifeless bodies of Gudrun and Gunnar and pays his respects to them. He confronts Fjolnir, and they engage in a fierce duel known as Holmgang. Armed with their swords, they battle over the lava, with Fjolnir nearly overpowering Amleth. However, the prince summons his strength and determination to continue the fight. The duel concludes when Fjolnir stabs Amleth through the heart, but Amleth manages to decapitate his uncle.